How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today we're going to be checking out what's happening this week on World of Tanks console. We did a video yesterday looking at the ops, and this one's going to be looking at the bundles, the new stuff that's come in, the patches, the fixes, and everything associated with that kind of aspect of World of Tanks console. We've got some big news. We've got a new tier 10. We've got plenty of other updates and some fixes to certain tanks and stuff like that, so you can see those nearer the end of the video. But other than that, we'll get straight into it. So first things first, we obviously have the Flashpoint season that's still going on. It's going to be on until the 27th of April, so we've got about 4 weeks left of this to go. We've also got the Flashpoint tanks, so you can pick those up in the store if you really want to, or just get to rank 100 for the T-77, that's the tier 8 American heavy tank, or just buy the ultimate pass for the CS52 list, that's the Polish medium tank at tier 8. Now, obviously we've got the new Polish medium tanks. They've been in the game for about a week now, so you can get your hands on those, keep grinding towards them. We've got another assignment golf that we covered in yesterday's video, along with some other operations that came out, so go and check that out at the end of this one if you haven't already. Now, assignment golf basically gives you a variety of different things. You get silver and XP boosters this week in terms of this assignment. It's not particularly amazing, but it is there for those of you who want to earn some extra rewards just for playing the game. You need 60,000 XP in total in any number of battles to be able to complete the entire assignment. So you can, check that out for yourself. And then we've got premium tanks for free XP. We went over this yesterday. The way that they implemented it, I felt, was just really not in the best possible light that they could have done that. I feel like they could have worked in a lot better than they actually implemented it. You can only, trade your free XP for certain premium tanks. It would have been a lot better if they opened it up to a more varied premium tanks that you can get. If, instead of having a list of 10, maybe having 50, 60, 70 premium tanks that you could actually purchase. There was a lot of tier 8s and tier 7s, I think. It would have been nice to see some tier 5, 6s and 7s and stuff like that. Bit more varied for those of you, the people that have less free XP saved up to be able to purchase some low tier premiums if they wanted to. Now, additionally, we did get the Surely You Jest. This is an April Fool's kind of event. We've got some ops, and basically all you have to do is get a win and you'll get some emblems for April Fool's. There's a variety of them. We went in those in the previous video. So yeah, if you want to have a look at them directly, you can either go to the What Console website, or you can have a look at the previous one at the end of this one, like with the rest of the ops. And then the Leading the Charge event, basically a 25% bonus silver for winning a game and coming within the top 5, and you can do that 5 times per day per account. And then we've got the key cards. Obviously they got refreshed last week. There's a lot more different premiums in the key cards right now, so if you want to have a look at what those are, we did a video last week talking about what the key cards actually offer and what you can pick up in them, whether they're worth it. I think this mix of key card tanks is actually quite good in the top secret one, but the confidential and classified are meh, not particularly amazing. Then, of course, we've got the lucky key cards. This is a way of getting tank commanders that are kind of interesting, but yeah, nothing too special in terms of what I like in the game. And if you want to pick up a lot small commanders, you can do that by picking up these key cards. They're fairly cheap, and you do get a commander, so it saves you 500,000 silver to actually not purchase one yourself. And then we have the best thing probably this week in terms of hype, and that is the 121B. This is the Chinese tier 10 medium tank that you can purchase for free XP. Now this will cost you 450,000 free XP. That's a lot, and I mean a lot of free XP. I think you'll look at probably around 14,000 gold if you want to pick this thing up and convert some of the XP that you have on your account to be able to get this in game. I personally am nowhere near the free XP. I've just spent a lot on the Polish mediums. I think I spent about 50,000, but that takes forever to be able to grind out that much. So if you're thinking about getting this, it's going to take you a while. You're going to have to play a lot of World of Tanks, and it probably isn't realistic to get it within the next couple of weeks. Even if you're solidly grinding the game, it's going to take you at least months, 6 months maybe to be able to get that kind of free XP, and that's regularly playing the game constantly for the whole entire time. Now, we'll look at the actual statistics of the 121B now and kind of give my opinion as to what I believe it'll play like in game. Obviously, I haven't tried it out myself, so I can't exactly say that it's going to be brilliant or it's going to be rubbish, but I'll kind of give an opinion on what I think the stats will make it play like in game. Now, in terms of any benefits that the tank gets, it does get this 5% XP bonus earn. It's not particularly amazing. That's just going to enable you to convert more XP if you want to do that with gold, so it's not a big problem because obviously you can't go to any next tier when you reach tier 10. It is the final tier so far in the game as of the recording of this video. Whether that changes in the future, I don't know. You get a decent amount of hit points. You get 1950. You know, I say decent, it's kind of that mid-range. You know, you're in a medium tank. It's kind of average for a medium tank. So, you know, not too bad. You've got enough hit points to survive a few shots in every single game. You've got an engine power of 580 horsepower and a speed limit of 52 kilometers an hour. With a Chinese tank, these tend to actually be quite good on the move after this update, so they're not what they used to be, where it was quite inaccurate on the move and they were just worse versions of Russian tanks. They've got a lot better after the update 6.0. So this tank is going to be mobile enough to get into positions where you might not be able to in a slightly slower medium tank, like, you know, talking about 40 kilometers an hour. This thing is able to get into some positions, into some aggressive positions, but you are going to be, you know, beaten to the post by things like the CS63. Obviously, that's just because it's so fast. It can go 70. It's not the fastest medium, but it's also not the slowest one. So when you've got to think about that when you play this tank. You've got a decent traverse speed as well, 50 degrees a second with a 42 degrees a second gun turret traverse, which means overall you have a 92 degrees a second. You're not going to be getting out traversed by very many things in the game, if anything at all. If you play it right, if you turn your hull and your turret at the same time, you are pretty much going to be able to keep your frontal armor in front of everything that comes up against you, usually, unless obviously there's multiple tanks. Now, the hull armor is pretty weak. You've got 130mm at the front, 80 at the side, and 50 at the rear, 60 at the rear even. It's fairly well angled, so you'll have probably an effective armor at the front of, you know, somewhere in the region of 170mm. Obviously, I don't have the actual model of the 121B up for you, but we can kind of assume that it's going to be fairly weak for a hull armor. You're going to be getting penned quite reliably by everyone that meets you. At tier 10, you know, some tier 8s might be able to bounce off the front of you if you're well angled, but I wouldn't recommend relying on that. The side armor does mean you can side scrape in this tank because 80mm is more than enough to be able to bounce or not get automatically penetrated by a lot of the bigger rounds in the game, which means you can side scrape. Now, whether you want to do that entirely in this tank is probably up to you, but you want to keep the angles very, very steep. 80mm is not a massive amount, which means, yeah, you do need the angle to be the thing that stops you from getting penetrated. So make sure that you do that if you decide to angle in this thing off of a building. Now, the turret armor, on the other hand, is an actual decent part of the tank. You've got 240mm of turret armor at the front, 160 at the side, and 60 at the rear. You know, this thing can actually go hold down fairly well against other medium tanks. It's going to be angled, which means the effective armor is going to be probably in the region of 280mm on the front of the turret, which means, you know, you can actually bounce tier 8s fairly reliably if you go hold down and they can't see your upper plate or your lower plate, or even the side of your tank. Now, that means that this thing can be actually really, really aggressive, get itself in the brawl with heavy tanks and mediums on more town maps, which can actually be really, really nice. Now, that's not usually the case with mediums. A lot of the time, the turrets are pretty weak, so this thing is actually interesting and could definitely be worth playing. The gun depression of 5 degrees isn't the best, but it isn't the worst. You know, some Russian mediums have 3 degrees of gun depression, so, you know, 5 degrees is alright, but it's kind of an average for this Russian style of medium tank. Now, Do I think it's going to save you? Can you play it on ridge lines? Probably not. I wouldn't really recommend going anywhere near ridge lines or where you're not going to be able to fight on a level playing field. Definitely don't go fighting up hills because you will be in a disadvantage. Try and put yourself in a position where the enemy has to come over a hill to be able to shoot you, or just put yourself in a position that you're not having to even deal with ridge lines in the first place. Elevation of 18 degrees is pretty poor. It's not fantastic, and you certainly won't be able to shoot up at like the Lurva does. But to be honest with you, there's very little situations where elevation is really that much of a problem, other than when you're playing something like the AMX 1390 or any of the French light tanks. But we won't go into that, and yeah, just keep an eye out for that if you are fighting someone up a hill or someone that's way above you. Now, the alpha damage of this tank is actually fairly decent. We've got 390 alpha damage, similar to that of the, looking at the British medium tanks, you've got 390. It's more than most Russian tanks, actually, because they get 320. This thing has got a decent gun, to be honest. It's going to reload fairly quickly. You've got 6.74 rounds a minute. Means you'll probably have a DPM of around 2,200 base, which means you can boost that up with the perks. You're going to be looking at around 2,800 DPM in this thing. The reload will probably be around 7 seconds when you fully kit out the tank with all of the DPM buffs, if you want to do that. In terms of accuracy and aim time, you've got decent aim time, decent accuracy, but you may want to put on that accuracy boost of 10%, and if this thing can put on stabilizers, you might want to do that as well in the equipment slot, because I feel like that is always the best thing to do, plus 20% accuracy, which means that both your aim time and accuracy will actually get better. So keep an eye on that, really look at that in terms of when you're purchasing this tank, and if you're going to play it in game, you want to be using that. In terms of the ammo capacity, you're not going to be shut down like something like a FV215B, where you only got 34 rounds. This thing has 80 rounds. You've got plenty of rounds to be able to impact the game throughout its entirety. Now, make sure you use that, and make sure that you do not hesitate to shoot at enemies, even if it's unlikely. Don't go making stupid shots, but remember, you do have the rounds to be able to back up those shots which would be a little more unlikely to hit. Now, the view range of 400 meters is actually really, really decent. You'll be able to outspot opponents. You do need to put on some vision perks because it's not the best in the game for a medium tank. And if you want to get some extra spotting damage, then that's the thing you've got to focus on. Maybe put on advanced optics to be able to boost that view range to 440, and then boost it above that with any of the perks like situational awareness, giving that 6% bonus to view range, which means that you'll boost it even further up to like 460. So keep an eye on that if you want to actually boost your view range. Obviously, enhanced rations will boost that even further if you want to put them on. Signal range 750 meters, pretty average. You're not going to be breaking the game with that, and it certainly isn't something that is the biggest statistic in the game. In terms of what the tank looks like, you can see on screen, this is what it looks like, very, very similar to that of all of the Chinese mediums, to be honest. Looks very much like the 121, obviously, because it is the 121B, but I think that this is actually better than the 121, to be honest, and you'll probably be enjoying this a little bit better than that kind of tank that's in the tech tree. That's probably how the premiums are going nowadays. They tend to be a lot better than their counterparts in the tech tree. Now, before premiums started getting overpowered, it used to be that they had one really good thing about them. Look at the Super Pershing, for example, used to have really good armor in terms of for a medium tank, but then it was really slow. Its gun was meh. It wasn't amazing, 240 alpha. You've got certain things that were just terrible with it. Its turret traverse, its hull traverse weren't great. And now it just seems like the premium tanks only get one weakness instead of one strength like they used to. So I guess Wargaming have decided that they want to make more money, and that's obviously fair enough, but don't make it at the cost of game balance and making it not fun for people that don't spend any money on the game, or at least don't make it too much that way. additionally, we have got +1, -1 matchmaking for the week. So for those of you that have been complaining about the +2, -2, you're going to have a little bit of a relief this week. So that's on for the entire week until 6th of April. It will probably come off for a week, then it's back on, and then it's off, and then it's back on. It seems the way that Wargaming are going with the +1, -1. So, if you like that, then you'll probably be playing a lot more this week. If not, then, maybe pull back a little bit for this week and decide what other games you can play. But that's down to you. Obviously, you can still play, and it just means that the mid-tiers seem to be able to actually have a bit of fun. When you're in tier 7s, you're not coming up against tier 9s and stuff like that, and tier 6s against tier 8s, where it's just an absolute ruffle stomp for the tier 8s against those tier 6s. We've got some special sales coming into the game as well. That's for the week, so we have 25% savings on all consumables and 30% savings on researchable tier 10 tanks. So that's really good. You're going to be saving 30% on all tier 10 tanks at tier 10, obviously. That's going to be saving you approximately, 2 million silver off of the original cost of the tank. And also the savings on the consumables will be 25%. So playing tier 10 is going to be more likely this week, and it's going to be more profitable for you to do. And more likely for you to be able to pick up tier 10 tanks as well. So make sure that you do that if you fancy playing. Now we have some new bundles in the game. We'll look over them. If you don't want to look at this part of the video, then you can skip ahead. This is just giving my overview as to what I believe is the best bundle this week, and if you want to pick up any of them, what I would recommend first. The first one is Elite Picks. This is the Captured King Tiger, the Diamondback Mark 1 and the Chimera. To be honest, I'd avoid this package. A lot of people already have the Captured King Tiger or a King Tiger variant. It's probably not one I'd pick up personally, and the tanks aren't amazing. Captured King Tiger is just like a normal Tiger 2, except it's American, I believe. It's like an American skinned version, and you can actually train up American crews in this. Yeah, it's not particularly amazing, and you've got the 240 alpha instead of the 320 of the Tiger 2. It's got a Diamondback is a pretty mediocre thing because it tends to get penned with premium rounds. It's similar to the other of that line, to be honest with you. The Badger, it's got really strong armor against standard rounds, but as soon as anyone loads gold, they can pretty much go straight through the front of you. So yeah, I don't think that this is one I'd pick up if I had 13,000 gold on my account. Then we have Autoloaders United, obviously, because there aren't enough autoloaders in the game right now. We've got the General T27, the Tier 1 LPC, and the Stockade. Now, the Tier 1 LPC, this is the Stone Cold variant of the non-skinned Stone Cold. It's got that double pump autoloader, 1-2. 280 damage each, dealing a clip potential of 560 damage. This thing can be really, really strong in game, and it certainly is one that if you haven't already got, it can be definitely nice to pick up. You've got the General T27. This thing has a 3-clip autoloader, I believe. 3 shots per clip, 240 alpha, 480, 620 damage in total. You've got a reload time of 25 seconds to do that 650, which isn't amazing. It's got a pretty long reload for the amount of damage that you do, which means the DPM is probably not very good. And to be honest with you, you'll be low rolling those shots because of the changes to the damage rolls. Yeah, not a tank I would personally but it is really annoying when you get clipped by one of these. So it's kind of one of those things. Do you want to trade the DPM for the ability to just ruin someone's day in one of these things? So yeah, it's up to you. I think this tank is still good though. It's definitely a really good one to play, and it can be definitely dynamic and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it could be a decent tank. Now, the Stockade, obviously this is the IS-3 that has the autoloader. Yeah, I think it's got a 3-shot autoloader dealing 390 per shot, which is like 1170 damage in total, I believe. Yeah, God, this thing, it can be really, really strong. I know some of you have probably already picked this thing up as part of one of the earn operations. I think it came out at some point as an earn operation, but if you haven't got it, or you haven't got any of these tanks, this one is a really good bundle to get you in the mood for autoloaders. It's a good overall one. You've got a really fast Czechoslovakian medium, and you've got this American medium with a 2-pump autoloader, and then you've got this heavy that is kind of one of those that's going to take you a long time to reload. Alright, so one of the last bundles is the Aces Duo. This has got the Primo Victoria and the T54E2. This is the T54E2 is an autoloader. I believe it gets 3 shots in total. It's got 360 damage per shot, meaning that you can do 1080 damage really quickly. This is basically, for those of you who are wondering, a better T77, you know, the one from the premium pass. You know, this thing moves a decent speed. It's got more reliable armor, to be honest with you. It's just basically, yeah, a better T77 in general. I would 100% prefer this over the T77. And, you know, if you want another version that is just better, it's got penetration that is fairly similar, and it reloads in 33 seconds. Yeah, I think I'd go with this one. You can pick between an autoloader and a standard gun. Obviously, the standard gun gets better DPM, gets better aim time, better accuracy. That's probably because, you know, you're sacrificing the clip potential that the other one gets for this gun. Now, the other one, the Primo Victoria, is like a Centurion 1. It's just like another version from Sweden. This is what it looks like on screen right now. It's like a Centurion 5-1, I guess, is what the nearest one is to this. It's got decent DPM. You know, it's nothing particularly amazing or really special to pick up. And certainly this bundle is probably one I would maybe recommend. Now, in terms of the next one, we've got Lucky Sevens. This has got 2 of the most overpowered tier 7s in the game, and it's going to be frustrating for any of you that are playing tier 8, tier 6 or tier 7. You know, looking at this, I would pick it up if I had the gold. The Dreadnought KV2, broken as hell. It's a KV2 that has 250mm of penetration. It's fast. It has 700 alpha. You know, you can fire 910 alpha with HE. The HE rounds have 86 pen, which is more than enough to go through a lot of light tanks or mediums if you get the side of them. Yeah, this thing is just absolutely broken. You have got a long reload in it, but considering the fact you can put on all of the reload buffs, this thing can get DPM way higher than what it says has the standard. Yeah, this thing is disgusting and definitely shouldn't have been in the game at tier 7. This thing could be a tier 8, or to be honest, because of the mechanics that this thing has, it just is broken at whatever tier it has because of the 250 alpha. Yeah, this thing's broken. And then, of course, we've got what Wargaming for some reason decided was, you know what, we'll take a tier 7 that's pretty overpowered in the first place at tier 7. It's a very strong heavy tank. We'll slap spaced armor all over it and then call it balanced. Yeah, this is just a T29 with spaced armor on it as well, because that's totally fine and dandy in this kind of game. I don't know what they were thinking with this. Probably just make some more money, to be honest. This thing is just absolutely broken. And yeah, when you see this in the matchmaker and you're in a heavy tank at tier 7, pretty much just run. I mean, the weakest point on the tank is the upper plate when it's frontal on, or when it's front on. And if it decides to side scrape, you good luck. The side of the turret is not even pennable because it's got spaced all over it, which means heat rounds aren't effective against it. HE, you can't even HE it, to be honest, because there's loads of spaced armor. I mean, this tank is just absolutely broken, and it certainly isn't one that I'd want to face in some tier 8s, to be honest. Mediums at tier 8 will have an absolutely horrible time trying to fight this. The reload isn't even that bad. Like, yeah, it's just disgusting. 320 alpha, definitely one I would pick up if I had the gold, and certainly for 7,000 for the both of them. They don't come on sale that often, and yeah, I would 100%, if I wanted to get some broken tanks, 7,000 gold is 100% worth it. I'm going to be brutally honest with you, I'm not going to beat around the bush, but I really hate when Wargaming bring in tanks like this. Even though they're really fun to play, that is because they're not fun for the 29 other players that are in the game with you. Then we've got the snipe and flank. I would, to be honest with you, avoid this. If I was in a craft panther and I'm coming up against a Minuteman, not really a tank I'd want to be facing, to be honest with you. This thing, the M4A4 FL10, not particularly a tank that's amazing. It's at tier 7, it's got an autoloader, a 4-round autoloader. You deal 135 damage a shot. Not particularly amazing. You're going to be dealing, 270, 540 alpha in a clip, reloads in 11.5 seconds with a intra-clip as well, because obviously it takes time to be able to fire out your shots. Yeah, I think that this tank could be decent in the right hands, but it is an M4 Sherman, to be honest, which has no armour. Yeah, I think this thing could be decent, but it's kind of up to you whether you want to pick it up. For 7,500 gold, though, for both of these, you could pick up way better tanks, and for 500 gold less. So unless you particularly want one of these, then I wouldn't recommend it. And the Craft Panther is meh. It's just like a Panther at tier 7. I mean, it's good in the right hands, but for the majority of players, it's going to be fairly annoying to play. You don't really have armour. You're going to have to use your map knowledge. And if you're new to the game, it's going to be quite hard if you want to play that tank. So that's the bundles for this week. Obviously, there's quite a few in there. There's this. My top pick for this week is obviously the Lucky 7s. They say lucky, but it's just absolutely broken 7s, you mean. But yeah, definitely a bundle that I would want to pick up. I haven't got the Minuteman myself. I don't know if I can bring myself to get into that thing. But we'll see. Yeah, Dreadnought is just broken as well, though, and that's from personal experience. Now, if you want to pick up any of these for 15% off, you can do that on the Premium Tech Tree if you can find them with the new update. I think we actually have the filter system in the game now, so you'll be able to look at tanks by their actual nation, I think, if that's in today. But we'll make sure we find that out later. And for the weekly deals, we've got the TOG 2. This is a meme-worthy tank, to be honest. In terms of picking it up to be competitive, no. This thing is not competitive. It's a big slab of no armour, but it has loads and loads of hit points. But that hit points disappears very quickly. You're slow as hell. You're not going to be getting anywhere anytime fast. You've got a decent gun if you can keep it firing, but this thing is just a chunk and it's pretty terrible. 2,000 gold, it's a fun tank to play if you're in a platoon. 3 togs going around, that could be pretty madness, but I might pick it up just as a joke. But that's all it is. It is kind of a joke tank, to be honest with you, and certainly not one I'd pick up if you wanted to actually do well in games at tier 6. And then finally, we have a few other things in the game. We have the Lycan. This is a really good tier 7 auto-loading light tank. Yeah, it's a bit like the T71 DAR, I believe, DA. It's got the autoloader. It's fairly fast as well, and this thing's definitely really good. I think the alpha overall is like 840, so if you penetrate all of your shots, you got 150 damage per shot. And you've got 6 shots, which means, yeah, you've got 900 alpha in your clip. So, yeah, I think this tank could be fairly decent for those of you who like your light tanks. And for 3,000 gold, that's a bargain, to be honest. I picked it up in the Halloween event. It does come around every year, and usually you can pick it up for free if you choose that tank. But it's up to you if you want to get it on a 50% discount for gold. Now, before we go on to the patch notes and the fixes, we've got the streams that are coming on this week. We've got the Tank Mints update rundown stream. That's tonight at 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock UTC, so whatever that is, convert it into wherever you are. 2 PM Central. That will go on for 2 hours today, and it will be just talking about all of the update information that we've had. Then on the 2nd of April, we'll have a community update stream that will be talking about kind of upcoming updates and stuff like that that are kind of coming up. But I'll do videos on whatever happens or gets released within that. So if you don't want to check it out yourself, or if you didn't have time to be able to have a look at that, you can always watch the video that I'll upload the next day. So yeah, we've got that coming out, and that's at 7 o'clock UTC. It's for an hour, and that's on the 2nd of April. Then we have the Insider Information special episode, and that's got the Super Hellcat. So it looks like the Super Hellcat will be coming into the game very, very soon. And yeah, that will come in with next Tuesday's update. So get ready for that. If you want to pick up the Super Hellcat, I think it's a tier 7, you might be able to do that. So that's at 7 o'clock, again UTC, for 1 hour until 8 o'clock. Moving on into the fixes, patches and update news that we have. Obviously, we've got the +1, -1. We've got the new tank, the 121B for free XP. And then we have got the rebalancing of the T22 medium. That's the tier 10 medium from the Russian line. This has got massive buffs in terms of what it's like in game. It's got a hull rotation and turret rotation upgrade, which means that it can now turn around very, very quickly comparatively to what it was. You've got aim time and accuracy buffs, making the thing more accurate on the move. It's going to be nice for those of you who already have the tank. It's not got any DPM buffs, but it does have those accuracy and the hull rotation, which mean it will probably feel less sluggy in game, or sluggish. Obviously, we've got events that are coming up. We've got Assignment Golf that's out. We've got the April Fool's drops. We've got the Leading the Charge event. We've got the free XP tank event where you can pick up various different tanks that you can see on the screen right now. And then we've got weekend events. We've got extra gains and not your average bunny. Now, in terms of what these are, we haven't been given them. We don't know exactly, but you can make your own assumptions as to those. I'll do a news video coming on probably Friday or Saturday as to what you can actually pick up on the weekend whenever that drops on the Wargaming website. Obviously, we've got the bundles, we've gone over those. We've got the deals of the week being the TOG 2 and the Lycan T71, and then the personal offers that you can pick up this week are the Type 59. Wouldn't recommend it, pretty terrible tank. Type 59 2 is way better. Rover T237, this is an actual really decent tier 6 light tank. It's actually very nice. It's like the T37 on the tech tree. Yeah, really, really nice, and definitely a tank that if you don't already have, you can pick it up, and I'm sure that you'll have some fun games in it. And then we've got the VK4503. This is the TS8, I believe it is. It's the German medium kind of heavy tank. It's not particularly amazing, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't recommend picking it up. I don't think it's going to be particularly fantastic for any of you that do actually pick that up in game. Certainly, yeah, it'll be 50% off, so if you've been looking at it, then you can pick it up. But other than that, that is literally all of the information that we've been given this week. If you want to check out some more, then you can do that on screen right now. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day and a good rest of your week, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.